TFNB, your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
And what a day it's been in college athletics as teams, programs, universities, athletic departments officially joining various conferences. We'll have that for you in just a second, including Dr. Kelly Dampus of Texas State University, as they are now officially a part of the Pac-12. We will go piece by piece with that, and we appreciate your time. I'm David Craig. I lost a paintball fight today, and I decided just to wear the same shirt that I had that used to be white. Craig Smoak, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to be with everybody as always. You look like you lost more of a paintball war with all those marks, but yeah, not just a fight. That was more of a paintball war. Yeah, that's you definitely stand out in the crowd in that shirt right there. So if that was the goal, then mission accomplished. And glad to be here to talk about some sports and particularly some college football as usual.
Yeah, and of course, so many moving parts, and it just seems like it never ends. And so let's start with this, and then Dr. Kelly Dampus will join us in just a moment. 11 different schools today that are a part of the FBS. 11 different schools today changed conferences, plus basketball's Gonzaga, as the Texas-Oklahoma, that's from Chris Vanini, theathletic.com, as the Texas-Oklahoma moved to the SEC, eventually kickstarted a lot of other things that have happened, including the Pac-12, of course, being rated by the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Big 12. And so now they're back to a nice full throttle of 8 football programs, 9 overall. And we'll take a quiz later on how many of the schools, do you know who they are, Craig? Before we put the image up, there's all sorts of the changes. 9 full-time members, 12 affiliates officially welcomed. Tournaments will be in Vegas. Sports sponsorship and championship information and special content series as well to cover the conference. Can you name all of them?
Yeah, I mean, there was Boise State and Fresno State and San Diego State and Gonzaga and what else?
Colorado State, the Rams.
Yeah. Okay. Colorado State. Yeah, go ahead. Just list them off. I mean, might as well. All the states.
Yeah,
and then,
everything's a state except Gonzaga.
Washington State, Oregon State. Yeah.
Yeah. So Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Oregon State. They were, of course, the ones along with Washington State that were left behind and remained together. San Diego State, Texas State, Utah State, and then I mentioned Washington State just a moment ago. So there was just mass invites, a lot of changes. Here is Texas State saying, man, this is a great day. Kelly Dampus again put this up. Huge day for Texas State, the Bobcats, as we make our move to the Pac-12 to celebrate with our fellow Texans and also new conference mates. We have a full-page ad running, in fact, ads running in newspapers and magazines across the state and in the hometown of the new partners that are part of with the conference itself. So a big day. Now, they weren't the only conference. We'll get to the other ones who also were affected today, including, remember last week we had Dr. James Hurley from Tarleton State. Now they're the United Athletic Conference, and some of also what's happened in the Mountain West Conference and others as well. So musical chairs that continue in college football. Rez, do we have Mr. Dampus on? We got him. Kelly Dampus joins us now. Dr. Kelly Dampus of Texas State University, president, joins us now. Craig and David Craig and 365 Sports. Kelly, thank you, man. Great to see you.
Great, hey, guys. Good to see you guys, too.
What did you sleep last night? Did you go to bed at 12:01? Yeah, tell us about all that overnight for you.
So we had a big celebration, kind of like a New Year's Eve kind of celebration. So we had a party at football stadium starting at 10 o'clock. A lot of alumni and donors, all the coaches, student athletes coming out. Had a countdown at 12 o'clock midnight. And then we had a big drone show, video presentation, reveal of our Pac-12 logo in the football stadium. And that finished around 1 o'clock or 1:30. And then I had to get up at 4 this morning to drive to Austin to be on the morning show with one of our alumni who has a morning. She's like the traffic reporter and special features reporter. And so I was on the show with her at 6 and at 7 this morning, and then came back to the office and trying to catch up now. So, but it's all good. When you get a chance to talk about what's happening at Texas State, that's a lot of fun.
So, Kelly, for the people out there that maybe don't follow as closely, or maybe only follow the Big Ten or something like that, and they don't quite understand why this is such a big deal for Texas State. They understand maybe what the Pac went through, but for the Bobcats in particular, it's clearly a step up in a lot of different ways. Can you explain how much of a step up it is, and why this is such a monumental day for your programs and for your university as well?
Yeah, just think about it. It wasn't very long ago. We were in the Southland Conference, 1 year in the WAC, then 12 or 13 years in the Sun Belt Conference. And there was a time if we wanted a school like Gonzaga to come play basketball here, or Oregon State to come play baseball, or for Washington State or Oregon State to come play football here, that we would have to pay them to come here. And now they'll be coming here as part of the conference competitions. And so it is a level up in competition. It's also a level up in peer institutions. We call them aspirational peers institutions, schools that we want to be like. 6 of the 8 schools in the Pac-12 are R1 institutions, and we will be an R1 institution next year. And they're also in cities and towns that our fans are excited about going to. And so Boise and Fort Collins and San Diego and Oregon State, Washington State, Fresno, and so those are all places our fans are looking forward to going to. So there's a level of excitement about the level of competition we'll be playing in, but also the schools we'll be comparing ourselves with and partnering with as well. Not just athletics, but also our faculty are excited about engaging with these research universities and maybe partnering with them as well as far as research and academics goes. And it's a win-win for us all the way around. The biggest thing is, though, first, there's a larger conference distribution, so the resources are greater. And the second is the exposure, because every single football game that we'll be playing this year will be on network TV. And so if you're sitting at a bar somewhere and you say, hey, I want you to turn on the Texas State game, in the olden days, is, well, I got to get the ESPN Plus, or what app is it on? I can't get that to work on the TV. They just have to get the remote and kind of flip through till they find the right channel that it's on. It's going to be on everywhere. And some of our games will be Pac-12 after dark, maybe only 1 or 2 other games going on at the same time. So a lot of exposure there. So that's also a big part of the reason we thought this was a good deal for us.
So when the Pac-12 started to get rated, and they did by ACC, the Big Ten, and also the Big 12, because of other shifts and changes as well, they were on thin ice. So Oregon State, Washington State bonded together, got a little bit out of it with those who left. And now look at where they are. What do you think about their resiliency?
Well, you got to give them a lot of credit, including Teresa Gold, who is their commissioner. She was a deputy commissioner before, as they made a leadership change in the conference office. But they could have just packed it all in and said, you know what, we're just going to go find another conference that'll take us. And to be honest, the autonomy for school conferences that were out there weren't expressing a lot of interest. So they would have had to drop down into another group of 5 conference. And I think it would have been easy to do, but I think they believed in the importance of the legacy of the Pac-12. And they were right, by the way, but I don't think anybody else believed them, because I remember thinking from my vantage point, the Pac-12 is dead. It's never going to go anywhere. And it wasn't until the original 4 schools from the Mountain West announced that they were going to transition to the Pac-12, where you start to see like the heartbeat comes back. When it's like the heartbeat is like this in a hospital movie and so on, and all of a sudden the heartbeat starts. That's the beginning of the heartbeat kind of coming back to the Pac-12. Those 4 schools committing to go to the Pac-12. Later on, the 5th Mountain West school, Utah State, joins. Then Gonzaga joins. Then all of a sudden you say, there's a chance. There's a chance this can happen. And then I'm thinking, hey, there's a chance for us. If people knew what I know about Texas State, they might be interested in us joining them. And that was the big thing for me, was to reach out to the commissioner, reach out to the presidents and say, let me tell you about Texas State. They were looking at other schools. We weren't really on their radar. And so I had to make a pitch about what's special about Texas State. And after a while, I think they started buying into it about, oh, maybe there's something here that we should be looking a little bit closer in. So it took a long time. We started in September, got kind of heavy in December and January, kind of slacked off for a while, and then in March and April start to pick up the pace. It took what seemed like forever to get there, and then it happened suddenly, at the very end.
Can you try to describe the undertaking of, you kind of ran down like these different events and celebrations and all those things, but just the entire undertaking of not only making the move, but everything that's gone with that, and rebranding, and just all the kind of stuff that comes with the move that you're making?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The past year, we're still a member of the Sun Belt Conference, but once you announce you're leaving, you're persona non grata. With all due respect, I mean, and I get it. They don't want me in the meetings, and they don't want Don in the AD's meetings, and so on, because they're making plans for life after us, and we get that. But we're also not in the Pac-12 yet, because there is no Pac-12 yet. So we have to wait till July 1st for that to happen. And so what happens is, once we get invited, and officially we were invited a year ago today, and maybe yesterday was the actual anniversary. But from basically July 1st of 2025 till today, we've been working and collaborating with the other schools, and all of them in the same boat we're in, where we're not in the conference, but we're planning and designing the conference almost from scratch. And we decided early on that we wanted to have kind of a disruptive approach to how we're going to do modern athletics here, knowing that the transfer portal is a certain way, revenue sharing and NIL, and all these things that are happening here. If you didn't have a legacy set of policies and procedures, what would it look like in this new era? And we've done some things that I think are pretty innovative, and including our our TV packages and our streaming package that we're going to, I think, announce pretty quickly about what that's going to look like. And I think we've done some really innovative things, because we didn't have to stop doing something to start doing something new. We're actually able to start from scratch. And so for the past year, at least once every 2 or 3 weeks, the board would meet, and the athletic directors would meet, the SWAs would meet, the faculty athletic reps would meet, our general counsels would meet to talk about all the process, basically, again, building a conference from scratch. And then it takes a lot of trust, because this is not naturally a trustworthy business. Everyone's in competition with each other all the time. But in this case, we said, hey, we're not in competition, we're in collaboration with each other. And let's act as if we are already a conference, and let's build something special here. And I got to give credit again to Washington State and Oregon State, and Teresa Gold in particular, who they could have given up, but they said, let's make this happen. Let's bank on the tradition of the Pac-12, and let's make it the best it can be. And by the way, the Pac-12 is kind of back where it was before. Depending on how you look at what sport you're looking at, either the 4th or the 5th best conference in America, with a slightly smaller scale of schools involved, but kind of in the same pecking order that were before.
Being a Canadian, and
Happy Canada Day, by the way.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. Today's July the 1st. You even sent that note to me, I think, in a text or an email. What does that just like make it like that's the strawberry on top right there?
Yeah, and Canada won a World Cup game. We hadn't won a World Cup game before, and now we're in the Sweet 16 or whatever they call it now. That's big. And the other thing that happened coincidentally is we decided about a year ago to look into exploring adding women's gymnastics to our portfolio. There are 100 gymnasts competing at the Division I level in the NCAA that are from the state of Texas. There's no D1 programs in the state of Texas. And so we started looking at it, and there's a lot of schools that are shutting down programs, shutting down women's sports, Olympic sports, and so on. One Autonomy 4 school actually shut down their women's gymnastics program right in the middle of us trying to gear this thing up. And so it took a long time to kind of get us going. And then again, we announced in June that we're going to do it, and we hired our inaugural coach yesterday. So we had to do a press conference for her yesterday, do the celebration last night. She's on campus. She's looking for a house to live with her husband, and has started recruiting our next year's class. And so there's a confluence: Canada Day, women's gymnastics, Pac-12, We launched a new media campaign. I mentioned to you the letter campaign we put out statewide and nationwide, actually, trying to capitalize on the news of the Pac-12 to continue telling the story about Texas State and how we're different from what people think about us. Because I think we're a relatively new school in that we changed our name relatively recently. We were Southwest Texas State before. We're a 127-year-old institution with 48,000 students this fall. But I think a lot of people don't know much about us because we just recently became Texas State within the past 20 years. And so we're trying to remove any stigma or misunderstandings about who we are and the kind of research university we are by capitalizing on the news of joining the Pac-12.
Yeah, it's definitely a Southwest for me growing up for the longest time. I was used to that, so yeah, it's definitely feels still somewhat new to just call it Texas State, but
absolutely.
Knowing all of the things that are going out there in the college space right now, you guys clearly climbed a ladder before maybe it had gotten pulled up as far as this opportunity with the Pac-12, but you may need to keep climbing just given how some leagues talk or how they've kind of positioned themselves and just this uncertainty that lies ahead. What do you think Texas State and in particular the Pac-12 need to do to tell their story, but to also make sure that they have the best seat possible moving forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been sharing this quite a bit recently. We wouldn't be where we are today without G.J. Kennedy getting hired. So I give credit to Don Coryell for hiring G.J. Kennedy. And I know, Smokey, you've got a long relationship with him. He and I were chatting last night that I think you guys go back to when he was 14 years old or something like that.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and so he's a big fan of yours. And so, but without G.J. coming here, without us going to our first bowl game, then going to 3 bowl games in a row, beating Baylor his first game that he ever coached for us, winning 3 bowl games in a row, being undefeated in bowl games, we wouldn't be in the Pac-12. There's no way we would be there with averaging 2 or 3 wins a year like we've been doing the previous 14 or 15 years. Now, I wish we had done that a little earlier because the Pac-12 was really taking a chance on us. They were betting on potential. When we were in serious conversations, we've been to 1 bowl game. By the time we started getting a little bit more along the line, we've been to 2 bowl games. And it wasn't until we've been invited and the deal was done that we went to our 3rd bowl game. So I think they took some hits as well. I'm sure people were saying, seriously, Texas State, why are you taking them? I mean, they've only been to 2 bowl games and so on, but they saw the potential in us. And you're right. Getting in the Pac-12 isn't enough. We want to go in there, and I don't want to say dominate them, but we want to compete for championships in the league because, things are changing all the time, and you can't afford to be the last place team in every sport in the Pac-12. If things change, if there's a new, there's always threats of realignment happening either really quickly now because of legislation that may be coming, or maybe realignment that might be happening in 2030 or so. When things change, we want to make sure that we're in the best position to protect ourselves. And we really are committed to the Pac-12. And what we really want is for, great schools to consider joining us to make a really even stronger Pac-12. But we want to make sure that we're in the best position possible when all that stuff's happening so that we're not thought of as that extra, the freeloader or the school that we brought in because we had to. And now we wish we hadn't because we want to get some other schools and so on. We want to prove the Pac-12 was right when they selected us. They made a judgment call based on what they saw the evidence was, and evidence that other people wouldn't see necessarily. And they bet on us, and we bet on ourselves because it would have been very easy to stay where we are. We were doing very well. We'd won the Commissioner's Cup for the past 5 years in the Sun Belt Conference. We could have kept competing there, but we bet on ourselves. Pac-12 bet on us. And we're going to continue working together to make it the best conference we possibly can, which means all of us being successful.
Kelly, when I texted GJ last night, he was driving, and he responded with this. I said, give me a story about Kelly Damphousse I may not know. He's unbelievable. He will be up at 1 o'clock in the morning texting me about recruiting and what can he do to help us.
Yeah. That's, here's my favorite story. So GJ, and I do this with all the coaches, but GJ had invited me to come talk to his first group of recruits when he got here. And by the way, except for Deion Sanders, his first class, he had more transfer students than than any other football school in the country. I think Deion Sanders had a couple more than he had, but I think we had 53 new students coming in. So I was meeting with recruits and their parents over breakfast, and I would say, I was kind of fired up because I thought he was the guy. I thought he was going to, lead us to our first bowl game, and I thought that would be like my selling point. And I would start off by saying, we've never been to a bowl game. We've never won a bowl game, never even been to a bowl game. Don't you want to be on the team that is the first team that takes Texas State to a bowl game? When you do that, we're going to go jump in the river together. And I did that for like 3 weekends in a row. And like the fourth time, GJ comes up and says, hey, I hate to tell you what to say, but these guys don't know that we haven't been to a bowl game before. And so I'm not really selling that point. Can you come up with something else to say? And I said, give me a minute. And actually, I had to like rethink it a little bit because I was like fired up to go give them another pep talk. And what I did was I sold them on the university, what we're doing there, the elevation we're making on academics and research and so on. I sold them on the culture we have here, the growth that we have, the fact that we're the #1 Apply To school for high school seniors in Texas that are using the Apply Texas app. We have 74,000 students have applied to become students here in fall of 2026, by the way. Just everyone wants to come here. So I sold a little bit of that sizzle, and I sold my faith in GJ. I said, we brought a guy here who I think is not going to just change our tradition, but I think will be changing your lives. And then I sold what I hope was selling the truth about the vision I have for the student athletes to the parents. GJ can talk about X's and O's and so on, but I wanted the parents to know that my commitment to them was that their student, their young man would come here and graduate with a degree that they wanted, and they would be prepared for life after Texas State and life after ball. I want them to play ball as long as they can, but when they finish, I don't want them to have an online general studies degree. I want them to have an accounting degree or an engineering degree or whatever it is they want to have, that we won't lock them into doing the easiest pathway for a degree, because we understand the value of a real degree for those student athletes when ball is finished. So I changed my tack a little bit, but I have to give GJ credit. He didn't know me very well, and he had to kind of correct the president about how to make a pitch. And I'm glad he did. It's one of my favorite stories of him, because I'm sure he thought about it for like 3 weeks. Like, how do I get this guy to stop doing this thing?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I kind of was off doing my own thing. So
Last thing, you started out at Sam Houston State. You also ended up with your master's at A&M. You were at UAB, back at Sam Houston State, OU, Arkansas State. So you've been around. You've been in a lot of different places. Do you pick and choose? Do you kind of like have a little bit of all of that in your blood, whether you were a student or in administration?
Actually, I started in community college up in Canada. I was not going to go to college. My mom was dropped out after grade 9. My dad went to grade 12. I graduated from high school, and I was just going to get a job somewhere. And I was working on a roof one day, and it was awful hot. And I thought, I wonder if this college thing maybe is a good deal. So I went to a community college, graduated when I was 19. I couldn't become a police officer. I was too young, which is my dream. And so I got a job as a prison guard. And then one of my former instructors talked me into going, after about 3 years in prison, to go to Sam Houston State to get a criminal justice degree. The plan was to go back and become a police officer. I met a girl, didn't want to marry cop or Canadian, and 40 years later, we're still married. And so it worked out great for me, but I had to come up with another plan. But your question is about the influence of all those places I've been to. UAB is probably the one that's least influential because I was only there for a year, but I've drawn on all those places. And the thing I've drawn about when I was at OU is when I got there, their football program was terrible. I mean, they had this history of being good, but they were not good in 1997 and 1998.
Oh, yeah.
They had hired John Blake, and John was struggling. He was a good man. He's a great recruiter, but really struggling. They hired Joe Castiglione to come in to be the athletics director, and he hires Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops comes in 1999. I think he's a little bit over 500. They go to the Shreveport Bowl game. They lose that at the last second. Next year, national championship. And that changed everything. And I thought, this is what happens to a university that it goes all in on a sport, on athletics generally. And just, the grass was greener, the sky was bluer, the sun was yellower on the day we won the national championship. And I saw the impact that being successful in sports had, not just on football, But then gymnastics got great, and baseball was, had a great year, and basketball, they started recruiting women's basketball. They brought the Paris twins in. Gymnastics goes in this crazy run. They win 8 national championships since then. Softball goes crazy. And so I saw the halo effect of, first, a great athletics director who hires great coaches, brings in great student athletes, and how that impacts the whole athletics department, but then the whole university as a whole as well. And, one of my favorite stories of one of the previous presidents at University of Oklahoma, when they had been really good in the 1950s, after World War II, they won 46 games in a row. And, but the university itself wasn't very good. It had a great reputation because of the football team, but the university was not good. And the president then said, I want to build a university that the football team can be proud of. And usually you think in the other way around, but based on the success of football, Oklahoma was able to overcome its many shortcomings. And there were not very much funding, the demographics, or the population was low, but they turned that into a really good university based on success of the football program.
Man, congratulations! You'll sleep like a baby tonight.
I will. I got to do a video. I got a video promotion to make. I'm going to be. I think I'm riding a motorcycle. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing at 7:30. At 8:00, I will be in bed. And don't text me, Smokey.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it, Kelly. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
The entire system, Kelly Dampus, Dr. Kelly Dampus, and Marcus, Texas State University president. What a run it's been for them. As this was a day when, as I mentioned earlier, 11 different schools making changes from one conference to the next. We'll show you a few others in a minute, but that's a hell of a deal. And they took a whim. And the fact that GJ started winning games, that surely didn't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, being in Texas doesn't hurt either. Certainly that helped them a lot. But, yeah, it's a great day for Texas State and for a lot of these other schools that have been counting down the days to making the moves official. I mean, we've known the moves were going to be made for a while, but you couldn't, officially fly the flag or claim to be officially in the conference like the Pac-12 and Texas State until today specifically. So, yeah, it's a great day for the Bobcats and all the rest of the programs that are making this move. I don't know how much it registers nationally, but it certainly registers within those communities. So that's great for them. And if they work well together and some things fall the right way, then maybe it will weigh on a much larger scale moving forward. I think everybody who's not in a couple of leagues have their work cut out for them, and it's constantly an uphill battle. But this is definitely a couple steps up a ladder for a Texas State, for a Gonzaga, for the rest of all the state schools that have joined the Pac-12 now as well. And good for the Pac. I mean, it's not what it was. It never will be again, because that collection of schools will never, ever be together again the way that they were previously. And you won't be able to replicate all that history, but you go with the times, you evolve, and that's what the Pac's done. And they very well, like the Big 12 in multiple ways and different time periods, could have just fallen off the map entirely and disintegrated, and everybody moves and goes their separate ways. But they decided, those two schools, Oregon State and Washington State, to fight it out, and they kind of had to as well. They didn't have a lot of options at their disposal. They clearly weren't going to just join the Mountain West, and that turned into what it turned into, as far as that rivalry, I guess, almost being created now new in a way, with the legal battles and the commissioner battles and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a really interesting collection of teams that geographically make sense. Texas State being kind of the outlier there. You've got a conference that's similar to you that you clearly could have a bit of a rivalry with if you wanted to. And you've got just a lot of fresh blank sheets of paper to start writing your history on. So that's exciting. And congrats, I think, most of all to Oregon State and Washington State for just sitting in there and going through all the ebbs and flows of what that looked like for them. I mean, when Texas and Oklahoma left, there were still several teams that were still together, Iowa State and K-State and Kansas and so on and so forth. You had a collection. It was just those two. Once the Pac was finished being rated. And they could have had any other number of outcomes. They could have dropped off the face of the map entirely, really. But they took that money they had and managed it wisely and got through the court system battles with the Mountain West. And now they're ready to go and do their thing. So good for them and good luck to them.
Texas State, by leaving the Sun Belt where they were getting a couple of $1 million in revenue, will now get anywhere between what is estimated at $8 to $10 million. So nearly 4 or 5 times that much that they will receive from the Pac-12. And as Kelly Dampus was telling us about every game will be on TV at some particular point. Here is the rest of what happened today. A week ago, we had Tarleton State President Dr. James Hurley on, and they have climbed that ladder quickly. And today they are officially, of course, it's the WAC, but now it is a part of the United Athletic Conference. And there's Dr. Hurley, grateful for the championship milestones, friendships that define this era. Becoming the United Athletic Conference, we look forward to building on that legacy together. Boise State and our good friend Jeremiah Dickey, who's their director of athletics, put this video. I think this is a video with even audio attached to it on the move or leaving the Mountain West Conference.
I mean to tell you, I want to take you out for lunch for your last day.
Oh.
What do you think? Tomorrow? Lunch? You and me?
Okay.
You're not leaving tomorrow. You're leaving today, right?
Maybe.
Wow, so that's it, huh? Just 4 o'clock and you are gone. Good.
Oh, shoot. That's my cap.
All right.
All right.
Your skin, oh yeah, your skin, oh, it's turning into something beautiful.
TCU, but prior to when they were invited to join the Big 12, those two went at each other quite a bit. And so I thought that was kind of cute and funny. And with The Office and Boise State, it's been a fun ride, is what they said to the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, I'm going to guess you've watched less than 5 minutes ever of The Office, right?
No, I'm going to tell you this. That's the first time I've ever watched anything or any dialogue. Again, that's no, I hadn't until then.
I figured as much, Mr. Pop Culture.
I watched Happy Days.
Oh,
the
cool.
Munsters.
That was awesome 50 years ago.
I watched a lot of that back in the day when I was a kid.
I think you lean into trying to like play older than you actually are sometimes.
Oh, no,
like,
believe me, I don't want to be older than I actually am.
I think you think it's like charming or something. And I also think too, you're just at an age where, you just don't watch newer stuff, but The Office has already been like, it already came and went. Like it's already been over for like 4 or 5 years now at this point.
I know that. It's like Cheers
but
and all
I
the
figured,
others.
you'd probably not watch much of it. But that's a nice little meme by Jeremiah Dickey and a nice little play on The Office there. And clearly not too worried about saying, see you, Mountain West. I mean, very much making it clear how happy they are to be on the move and no love lost, I think, between the Pac and the Mountain West. And so we'll see. I think that'll make for some good bowl games or whatever potential non-cons they can put together if they put the bad blood behind them. I think they've got really more of an eye-to-eye look at each other than one of them trying to look down on the other, even though there's a lot of that sort of jostling and positioning going on during the back and forth legal battles of like, no, the Pac's way better and this is why. And it's like, no, the Mountain West is way better. And I think we'll be able to see some of that spill over onto the field and take care of itself. So that'll be fun. And I think good luck to both conferences, but certainly, a big blow to the Mountain West, losing a lot of great programs, but it's not like they're not used to it. I mean, they lost Utah before. You said they lost TCU. I mean, they lost BYU, had them at one point. So losing teams is nothing new necessarily to the Pac or to the Mountain West. It's just this volume of teams and the meaning of it, them all moving simultaneously to go reinvigorate the Pac. That's a little bit of a different thing than TCU leaving or BYU leaving or what have you. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I mean, being on TV on a regular basis, that's a big deal. The money's obviously nowhere in the stratosphere of some of the other teams, but deal with it and do the best that you can with it. And then you just try to build on that.
Yep. And you mentioned the Mountain West. I did too. Here is who is the image from the Mountain West Conference. By the way, Austin Meek will join us from theathletic.com in just a moment. And then we're wide open after that with no other guests the rest of the day. So you have Air Force in the Mountain West. You also have, of course, with all the North Dakota State football only. You have Hawaii and Nevada and New Mexico, Northern Illinois, football only. San Jose State, UC Davis, non-football. UNLV, UTEP, and Wyoming are the teams that are a part of the Mountain Grand Canyon, also with what they do, not football, but what they do in the Mountain West Conference as they move on to their new future. So there we are with that. Also, this last one on this, Chris Vanino, I mentioned 11 schools today, 11 schools changed conferences or joined conferences as they try to survive and move on, almost like it's an NCAA tournament. And good luck to all of them. And I wish them the best of luck. Thanks to Kelly Dampus. When we come back, Austin Meek will join us. He did a story about, well, why can't college sports survive? We'll have the quote from the Michigan president when he was asked about Dusty May leaving to coach the Mavericks in the NBA, who had just won the national title, who had a great program in an early amount of time after being at Florida Atlantic. He put up a couple of quotes from the president, Domenico Grasso, and we're going to discuss that with him. And so when anyone goes, well, the Big Ten or the SEC, they're selfish. He has a quote about that and more. And Austin Meek will join us next. And this is The Smoak Show on 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. Want to be, you want to feel better. Need to be, you need to feel better. And used to be, you used to feel better. But as you age, a lot of things change, whether it's your muscles start to ache and you go through some of that, or just other things a part of Father Time kind of evaporate. One of them is your testosterone level can drop. 1 out of every 3 to 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, including maybe that's you. Here's how you find out. Contact Dr. Kent Petty at pettycliniclowt.com. They will communicate with you and then set up an appointment for you to give your blood. He will get the blood results, the T-level results, and if your T-level, testosterone level, is too low, he can put you in a program to increase it so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Broker is your Lennox Premier dealer. Right now, qualified buyers can make no payments and get no interest financing for 12 months on a new Lennox home comfort system. Conditions apply. Call Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating Specialists for details and a free estimate.
The reason that their service is outstanding because the people they have working, behind the desk and the folks working out in the garage, taking care of business. And they give you a date, they give you a time, and they're spot on, and they're professional, they take care of it, and they answer all your questions, and they're fun to work with.
Like Alan Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB, your bank for life, takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This 3 o'clock hour is brought to you by QC Kinetics. Feel better, move better, live better with regenerative medicine using your body's own healing abilities for natural pain relief. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. With locations in Dallas and Houston at QCkinetics.com. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
We are on YouTube. We're also live on Twitter with a Twitter feed under my name at David Smoak, and we appreciate your time, whatever you give us every day. I saw the story from Austin Meek. Why can't college sports be fixed? With a question mark, and look at Michigan's response to Dusty May leaving. Here is part of a quote from President Grasso on the departure of Dusty May. Coach May told me that among his reasons for leaving were uncertainties and pressures involving the transfer portal, NIL support for student athletes. He and I agreed that the future of college sports is headed in the wrong direction. Then, in the next breath, and this is a part of Austin Meek, will join us in a second, acknowledging that college sports is in a dire need of clarity and equitable form, he then also echoed this stance on the Big Ten and the SEC, who do not support the legislation when it comes to the Protect College Sports Act. We, Michigan and the Big Ten, we want what's best for the Big Ten and Michigan. We are not going to sacrifice the competitive advantage that we have built for more than a century. That's from Michigan's president, Domenico Grasso, and now Austin Meek joins us on 365 Sports. I got to give him credit. Austin, he was honest, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, the big bullies are picking on everybody else. But I mean, how many other people that want to be a part of that or want them to maybe give something up, they themselves would not give something up?
Yeah, I think Domenico Grasso, the president at University of Michigan, just said out loud what basically everybody believes in college sports, which is that whatever this looks like moving forward, whatever changes are made to college sports, everybody feels like the advantages that they have, they've earned and they should be able to keep. And everybody feels like the disadvantages they have, those are the things they want to fix, right? If that school over there is spending more money on its players or has what somebody else perceives as an unfair advantage, that's what everybody's looking at. And I think that shows you why it's so hard to get a solution here, is because everybody wants to keep the advantages they have. Nobody wants to give that up. But yet, everybody also wants a solution that's going to make things more fair for them. So it's a real paradox, I think, for these schools.
Austin, in talking about Dusty May specifically, and that other part where I know we're going to get back to because it's very interesting, but I remember seeing a college basketball writer who's probably his lifeblood's covering college basketball, so he wants things to always be kind of great, right? But Dusty didn't leave because of NIL, or Dusty didn't leave because of the transfer portal, and Dusty didn't leave because of this or that. It was the opportunity. It sounds like he left because the NIL and transfer portal, and yeah, the opportunity was great too, but is he a guy who did leave because this is clearly just a lot to deal with and not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's in Dusty May's heart of hearts. I'm guessing there were a lot of factors that contributed to his decision. I think NIL and uncertainty about funding NIL and the transfer portal certainly was part of that. I think he was telling the truth when he said that to the Michigan president. I think the opportunity to coach in the NBA was a big factor. Setting aside all this other stuff about college sports, I think everybody who had been around Dusty May understood that at some point he probably was going to be an NBA head coach. So I don't think that was a huge surprise to anybody. I also think there's some internal things happening at Michigan right now that may have factored in. And it's probably easier in a lot of respects for everybody at Michigan to say, oh, this was about the transfer portal, this was about NIL, and absolutely that was a piece of it. Was it the only piece? I don't think it was. But certainly it's a factor. And I think a lot of coaches who are in Dusty May's position, they have an opportunity to coach in the NBA. They're gonna look seriously at that opportunity. And that's not new. Coaches have left college sports for the NBA and the NFL forever. But there are some different factors, I think, that are pushing coaches right now in that direction.
So we were just talking to the Texas State president. They just got officially put into the Pac-12 today. They're going to make like less than $10 million. But still, it's a huge step up for them and a big deal. And here I am listening to you talk about how Michigan's like, man, we need more money. We don't have enough money. Like, if Michigan doesn't have enough money, Austin, how could anybody possibly ever have enough money?
Yeah, there's no such thing as enough money in college sports. That's the reality of it. Everybody needs more money. Michigan, in fact, just announced a few weeks ago that they're going to start selling advertising inside Michigan Stadium, which is something they've resisted for decades and decades. They're looking into jersey patches, which is like sacrilege, at the University of Michigan. And they were straightforward in saying, we need to do this because we need more money for NIL. The reality of it is, how much money is enough? It's more than what the other guy's spending. And as long as there's some school out there that's spending more than you are, then there's going to be pressure to generate more money. And it's just really hard to sustain that year after year.
I understand the Big Ten and SEC, what they want, and they want more of it, and what they've accumulated and why they're powerful. But is there any responsibility at all with, let's just say, the Power Four conferences, the Autonomy Four, and also Notre Dame? Is there any responsibility at all to protect the game and traditions of the game, or is that out the window?
Well, I think what makes it complicated is there's nobody really in charge of that in college sports, right? There's no body, no person whose interest is strictly protecting the game. Everybody's in the position that Michigan's in, which is we want to do what's best for our school and our conference. So in the abstract, do they care about the game? Yeah, I think they do. I think, at kind of a, emotional level, sure. A lot of people in leadership in college sports care about the game and want the game to succeed. But at the end of the day, what really drives it? What's the real incentive? It's to win. It's to be in a position of advantage over everybody else. And so if everybody's thinking that way, then there isn't anybody whose number one objective is taking care of the game. That's a secondary thing for everybody. And I mean, we see the result. Everybody's doing what's best for them. Nobody's really doing what's best for the game. And until that changes, it's just really hard to see a path for a really a sustainable solution to a lot of these problems that everybody can see.
Austin, if you were ranking what's more bothersome for a Big Ten school, the pooling of media rights or the inability, or we could say SEC as well, the inability to bring new teams into the fold, how do you think those would rank, or would it just be 1A, 1B?
I mean, I think the appetite for expansion in the Big Ten is not real high at this point. In fact, I think there are some schools in the Big Ten who look at the last wave of expansion with the former Pac-12 schools that came into the league and say, there's good and bad from that. But financially, I'm not sure it's been beneficial for the biggest schools in the Big Ten the way maybe they thought it would be. So I'm guessing, at least in the short term, the idea of adding schools to the Big Ten, unless it was something that was really going to add a lot of value, would not necessarily have a lot of support. I do think the pooling of media rights is something that, from Michigan's perspective, would be very, very alarming, and probably the Big Ten perspective as a whole. I think Michigan thinks of itself as one of, if not the most valuable media property in college sports. I mean, you can look at what Notre Dame has with NBC and say, if Michigan wanted to take its media rights and go out on the open market, they could probably command something similar to that. So anything that would dilute that from Michigan's perspective, anything that's using Michigan's value to prop up the value of other schools beyond what's already happening in the Big Ten, I think Michigan would push back on that pretty hard.
So they've had a pretty good run when it comes to the national championship with Harbaugh, and then what they did in basketball, because they beat people up with Dusty May's team. But it hasn't been easy, and there have been there's been a lot of shrapnel, a lot of bumps and bruises, and also scars. Where are they right now in trying to even get through all of that?
I mean, it's been a roller coaster at Michigan. It's been really high highs and really low lows, and often very close together. You know, the excitement of winning that national championship came on the heels of a really difficult period for the football program with Sharon Moore, him being fired and then arrested, and everything that surrounded that. Winning that basketball national championship really was, was a bright spot for a lot of fans who'd been through a lot. And so then to turn around and lose your basketball coach a few weeks later, when Michigan fans felt like, hey, at least we're going to keep him for another year, it was a gut punch. So in terms of where Michigan fans are at, they're excited about Kyle Whittingham. I think there's some cautious optimism that the football program is back on the right track. There's a lot of uncertainty about where the basketball program goes from here. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about the athletic department as a whole and where it's going. You know, there was a report commissioned about the culture of the athletic department, along with the situation involving Sharon Moore. That has not been released, so there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of what's in that report. When is it going to be released? Is it going to be released? I don't think anybody knows. So all of that, I think, has really put Michigan fans on edge right now.
So we got to see Kyle Whittingham, interview him several times with him being at Utah, and really enjoyed talking to him. But he's a serious cat. I mean, he's a real deal football coach. What have been kind of your initial impressions, and what would you say are kind of the impressions of the fan base as far as getting to know him and just the differences that are very night and day compared to his predecessor, especially. But it's a different flavor for sure.
Yeah, exactly how you described it. He's all business. He's a football coach to the core. I think Michigan fans appreciate, especially after just all the stuff they went through, they appreciate having a coach who's a professional, who manages the program on and off the field, has a high standard in terms of discipline, and just the way he carries himself, the kind of charisma and the respect that I think he commands from people. Michigan fans have really embraced that. I think they feel like that's what the program needed. It just needed kind of a steady hand, somebody who had been there, and had experience running a program at the highest level, which Kyle Whittingham has. So for all of those reasons, I think Michigan fans have embraced him. It's the honeymoon period. If you find a fan base that's dissatisfied with their coach at this point, before he's coached a game, that's a really bad hire, right? Like most fans at this point are thinking that they got the right guy and he's going to be awesome, and maybe he will be. We're gonna find out. I think Michigan's got a really tough schedule this year, and there certainly could be some bumps in the road. But overall, I think the early signs with Kyle Whittingham have been encouraging, and Michigan fans like what they've seen from him so far.
So Indiana just won, which was maybe the greatest rebuild of all time. And Ohio State won. Ryan Day got the monkey off his back despite not beating Michigan. But then before that, Michigan won. Who's next? Is it Oregon? Is it Penn State with a change? Other than the three I just mentioned, who would be next in line, in your opinion, to win it?
Well, Oregon's definitely due. They are definitely due. I was before I moved to Ann Arbor, I was in Eugene. I worked for the newspaper in Eugene, covered that program for several years, and could see them building that foundation that they have. They got really close to winning a national championship when I was there. They've been close a couple times since then. It's just one of those things with Dan Lanning, like you knock on the door so many times, eventually that door is going to open for you. So I certainly would, if I had to pick the next program in the Big Ten to win a national championship, I'd say Oregon. Beyond that, I'm really interested to see what Matt Campbell does at Penn State. I don't think that's going to be like a one-year fix for him, but long term, could see that program be in a contender. But hey, if Indiana can do it, like just about anybody can do it. I mean, that's the program historically in the Big Ten, as you guys know, that was furthest from everybody's mind as a team that could win a national championship. So it's definitely a new world in the Big Ten.
Austin, he was hoping you were going to say Nebraska, but you know better than to say Nebraska.
I'm not. I can't go there.
I am not even going to, like, I would be great, but I would also, like, I'd have to wake up from a dream if that was the case.
So Austin, I mean, the comments about just saying what it is, like, hey, we got to look out for ourselves. Is there anything that, like, if they were to strip away, and I know you said like realignment's maybe not a focus right now, but if they took away the TV rights, is there anything you feel like could get the Michigans of the world on board with everyone else, or is this just a losing battle no matter how you try to position the pieces on the chessboard?
Yeah, I don't follow all the ins and outs of the legislative process as close as some of my colleagues at The Athletic who really cover the day-to-day of it. But my sense of it, just from looking at it from the outside, is the challenge here is that when you talk to people in college sports, and Kyle Whittingham has said this, everybody will say, this has just gotten out of control. We need some kind of structure in terms of how players are compensated. I mean, basically saying we need to somehow cap this, right? It's not sustainable to be paying, $40, $50 million for a football roster, and that's only going to go up. As I look at it, the problem is everybody wants to be able to spend as much as they can spend, right? Nobody wants to be told, you've got this money, but you can't spend it. You need a quarterback and you've got the money, but the rules say you can't spend that money. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to be able to go spend the money when they have it. But they also want the rule to make sure that other team can't go spend it to take your quarterback. And I don't know how that gets solved absent, as I said in the piece, some kind of collectively bargained solution with the players. I think that's probably where it's headed at some point. I don't know how far in the future it is. I just don't see how you can really have something like a salary cap or greater limits on what players can be paid without eventually having that bargained with the players.
Last thing, and I know you got to go. One of the guys that's a huge K-State fan in our chat room off to the side, Austin Meek, sure has come a long way since his days covering K-State for the beat of the Topeka Capital Journal.
Hey, that must be my buddy from Topeka there. That's awesome. Yeah, that was my first job out of college. I went to school at Kansas State. I had the distinction of covering K-State football during the Ron Prince years. It was a pretty forgettable era in K-State football. One of many, I should say. But also got to see some pretty great years with Bill Snyder there. So a lot of fond memories of that.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, Austin. Have a great week. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
TheAthletic.com. The story, why can't college sports be fixed? Look at Michigan's response to Dusty May leaving. That was the quote we had from their president that said, hey, he told me what is the issue, why he would leave. And, we were at some point, this is why Mike Krzyzewski retired or Saban retired or others that have walked away. And in some cases, they're not going to deal with it, or they don't want to deal with it, or they don't understand it. So Dusty May and the Mavericks with Cooper Flagg and company move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's valid to say that the NBA is just a pull regardless of what college sports looks like. And the ability to go coach Cooper Flagg, regardless of what Michigan's just won or how much they're paying you or how clean and easy to understand the college game might be, which it's not. But let's say even though if it was, the Mavericks' job would still be a pull for any college basketball head coach who has any idea that they might want to coach in the NBA. And then you add a Cooper Flagg to that mix, who's only played 1 year so far, and you get him right there at the beginning of his career. And I think he could be in a terrific situation. And Dusty May, for as much as there are still the same issues that a lot of other people had, I mean, the national champion. So for all the headaches and everything, they're as in good of a spot as you could possibly be in. And even then, you could still see where he'd want to go off to the NBA and do all that. But I do think, much like with Saban, I don't think it's just, hey, I just really want to go do this before I die. I think there's part of that, but I also think that, there's very much that I don't want to have to deal with all this BS and this stupidity when it comes to my roster every year and the constant 24/7, 365 recruiting of everybody and the bidding wars and the transfer portal and all these different things. So, I'm sure it's a little column A, column B, But I just remember, and I'm not trying to bog down and criticize the guy, but I just remember when that particular basketball writer immediately was like, no, this has nothing to do with the transfer portal. It's like, dude, I get that you cover college basketball and you want it to seem like it's not in a bad state or that everything's great, but come on with the propaganda. Clearly that came into play, and he said as much. He said as much when he was being introduced. So yeah, I think it's both things with Dusty May. But coming out of that and then leading to this story were those very interesting quotes from Grasso and him saying what everybody's always known, but what the higher up people typically wouldn't just acknowledge that bluntly, or certainly fans of the bigger schools never want to admit. And it's that they don't want to give away their advantage. And you know what? If you've been working on that advantage for 100 years and you've won several national titles and conference titles, yeah, why should you suddenly just be cast into socialism and you have to share with Boise State? Because you built that up at Michigan or at Oklahoma to be treated differently, to be more rewarded, to earn more money because of what you've accomplished previously. And yes, also the inherent advantages that you also have that comes with how long you've been around and just your history and your alumni and everything. So yeah, we've always known that the reason they don't want to play in the same pool is because you lose your advantages. And that's the simplest way to look at it. And I've seen plenty of times in the past few years where there's fans of school. No, we're not scared of Oklahoma State. We're not scared of, Boise, or we're not scared of whoever, but yeah, you're not, but you're scared of the idea of what it would look like if you were all on the same playing field. And you know what? Rightfully so, because your advantage gets wiped out, and you shouldn't have to feel like you have to bend down to just be equal with everybody for the sake of everybody. This is a dog-eat-dog business, just like anything else. And I don't blame the Michigans of the world for not wanting to feel like they've got to have something taken away to float a bunch of others that are not in their interest and serve them no purpose, really. And I know I'm probably...
Well, let me stop you for a second. And because I want to clarify that, because you're talking about those who are from other conferences, but also those in their own conference, too.
Yeah, why? Michigan's got to worry about Michigan. And I wish that Michigan or Oklahoma or whatever big school I wish there was some element of they care about the whole ecosystem and they're willing to take less money, or they're willing to do this to make everybody happy, but that's just not realistic. And especially not in a sport like college football, where everything is about the advantage that you can get. So yeah, there's not schools who have been building up that equity for 100 years that are going to suddenly say, you know what? We did all that work. We built all this up, but we're going to cut ourselves off and lower our advantage just so everybody can be happy. It sounds good, but in practice, it's not feasible and it's not realistic. And so I just enjoy the fact that that's always been obvious. But it's weird how you had to almost hear somebody just finally acknowledge it to go thank you. Yes, of course, that's more of what it's about than anything else.
Anybody else would feel the same way.
Academics
But at the same time, if you look at the 130 plus teams in FBS, we're talking football only right now. That's where all the money is, although men's basketball too. But if you talk about 130 programs, how many are self-sustainable? How many of them?
Well, very few. I mean, if Michigan needs money, then that tells you everything.
And so they don't owe anything to, for example, they don't owe anything to Cal, but Cal, of course, has their own endowments and stuff. They don't owe anything to, let's say, Kansas State. They don't. And then again, I know this sounds maybe just old school and get off my, it's not. Isn't there, like I said, there's a responsibility to make sure the game doesn't get to a point where it's no longer the same as it used to be. Not rules, not the scores, but I don't know if that makes sense. Some people would understand what I'm saying. You get to a point where you may break this thing up so much, and you hear about the Super League, and I know some of you on the chat love it and bring it up, and I get it. And there's one of you that, for example, Paxton's a Texas fan. Kim brings up the Super League at Texas Tech. They have a guy that could probably make sure that they're a part of that. But not everybody. It's not automatic. And that Super League might end up, again, I'd be interesting if Minnesota's not connected, or if Mississippi State's not connected. And all of a sudden, how many of those schools that are like, yeah, that's the way we need to keep our big schools in conference, how many of them start to go, oh, shit, this didn't end up right?
I mean, I guess that would depend on the details of it, because is Minnesota involved or not? I mean, that's the thing is we could speculate all day on, well, what would Rutgers think about? Well, I mean, would they get booted out though? Like, I mean, would they, or would it just be the Big Ten and the SEC altogether? I mean, that's the thing about
they were brought to the Big Ten for a reason.
Yeah, but everybody would tell you that in the benefit of hindsight, that they're going after markets. They don't need Rutgers. Like everybody in the Big Ten would tell you, like, yeah, if we could vote today, we'd cast off Rutgers into the sun because they're not bringing anything. And the game's different than it was back then when we were chasing TV markets and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, it's a different ball game, and they're not bringing up the average at all. So, yeah, it would depend on the details. But, yeah, there's certainly some schools that probably feel like they're sitting on the high horse that don't realize the rug can get pulled out from underneath them as well. But, again, that would also depend on what exactly are we talking about, because maybe not. Nobody has a freaking clue about what it actually looks like. I've heard 100 different versions of what the Super League is, and I have my own definition of it that we've talked about. So my definition, yeah, there's definitely some teams that are getting put on the curb from every conference, and it's an amalgamation of teams. It's not this league and this league. They combine and they're together, and that's the Super League. Like, no, that's not a Super League to me, but for others it is. Just the Big Ten and SEC joining forces. That's a Super League. I disagree, but again, everybody has their opinion on it. I think it's refreshing to just hear Michigan say what's obvious is that, yeah, we don't want to abide by the same rules. We don't want to all share, and we don't feel like we have to, because we want our advantages that we built up over time. And we want our advantages that are just baked into our university because we're Michigan and we have so many powerful alumni that, yeah, why would we lower ourselves just to make sure that South Florida's okay? Like, why would we care about freaking Iowa State, right? I mean, you would hope that there's some semblance of, well, yeah, it's for the greater good. But as Austin points out, it's not for the greater good. It's about first your school and then your league. And then after that, you don't really give a damn about the rest of it at this point. At least that's the way that it feels nationally. And I know every once in a while, Greg Sankey pops up and says otherwise, but then his actions go very much in favor of the SEC, which they should, because he's the SEC commissioner. He's not the commissioner of college football. So, yeah, I mean, the obvious was stated. The obvious, we already knew that. We've just never heard, or rarely have ever heard, anybody higher up just flatly say why they don't want to get along with everybody, because they would lose their advantage. And it's just that simple. And so, good luck in trying to pass any of these acts or whatever if you're not going to be able to get some of these schools on board. I don't know how you go about doing that, especially big brands like Michigan. I don't know if that leads to something else, but it certainly leads to more speculation on what the future could look like. And right now it's pretty clear that, not everybody wants to play together, and nor should they be forced to, quite frankly, either. So I think if you're a fan of a smaller school or a league that's not at the top, then you feel like it's their obligation to probably help everybody. But that's because that's your vantage point, is we need you to help everybody to make this thing great. And then if you're sitting up top and you're in Austin or in Columbus, you're looking around and you've already made it very clear that you're done playing with the poors or whatever, and you have no interest in throwing them a rope over the side of the boat and helping them up because you left them in the dust for that very reason. So yeah, I don't know how you solve that.
It's always interesting. You know, we have this debate about how should the college football playoff, what number's the right number. It's at 12 now. It will be this year. Will it ever get to 24, in between 16, whatever? And then, which is kind of like sitting around a tailgate or at a bar or on the show, how many teams do you need for it to actually be a super league? Because if you just take like the top 12 or 15 or 20, it's not. I don't think that would work, even though that would be 15 or 20 alphas.
I disagree. I think 15 to 20 is way more of an elite super league than having just the Big Ten and the SEC join together and saying, yeah, that's a super league.
I understand that. It wouldn't be 34. So
I mean, like, to me, the definition of the Super League, like I've said multiple times, for me personally, is like the best of the best. Sorry, Maryland. Sorry, basically all of the Big 12. Sorry, most of the ACC outside of like FSU and Miami. Sorry, North Carolina. Like, I don't like if we're doing, so are we doing football super? That's the other thing. Because football super league doesn't include North Carolina.
This is a football discussion.
Yeah. So North Carolina's not in it. So
yeah,
in a football super league,
I'm just thinking
they're
about
not
the
in a football
value.
super league. No. If the TV networks are running it, then that's a different story. But Craig Smoak's version of the best football program super league, North Carolina doesn't even have a seat to.
You would get so many Freedom of Information Act requests from Jordan Hudson, it would make your head spin.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But and I'm not saying that to be disparaging towards North Carolina. I'm just saying that like that to me is a super league is the best of the best historically. And that's how I would define it. But I know there's various other definitions of it. So there's not one answer to it. It's whatever you think the answer is. So, yeah, I think there would be some teams in the Big Ten and the SEC that would be disappointed in my version for sure, because they would be suddenly going from pointing down and laughing to right in the same pool as the others, which I know is kind of what you were saying earlier. The Minnesotas or the Rutgers or the Vanderbilt's up until like the past couple of years. And even then, I don't think that completely covers and puts them suddenly, because they've been bowl eligible, into the Super League. No, not at all. So yeah, others would say, well, they're in Nashville, and like, no, that's not my version of the Super. I'm not worried about city sizes and all that. I just want the biggest programs. The rest will fill in itself and be just fine. But yeah, for some people, it would be way too elitist. And
all right, I'm going to throw one out,
small,
and we could go on and on, but I'm not going to. Wisconsin.
They'd be right on that verge.
That's a big ass school, and they've had pretty good tradition in football. They haven't won a natty.
I mean, it would depend. Do I have 23 teams and I need a 24th? And who is in the batch of teams I could take the next one from? They might be at the top of that list, but they would not be one of the top like 15 or 20 programs that I would think of. No. Or maybe, I don't know where they would fall in line. They would not be in the top 15, though, for
I bring
sure.
that up because we'll have a story on them in just a second in the next segment. Let me see.
I mean, hell, Nebraska's teetering on it at this point.
No.
I mean, I'd say they would be in, but I also understand how immediately people scoff when they hear me say that. Be like, well, wait a second, it's about the elite programs.
Do you have to be good now?
I don't think you have to be good now. Okay,
but they haven't been good in 10, 12, 15
We're not
years.
debating an actual thing. We're debating my version of this. Like in my version of it, Nebraska's in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nebraska's in it.
All right. UCLA.
No. But are we doing just football, you said?
Yes.
So if we're doing just football, then no, UCLA is not in the Super League.
So it'd be fun. We could go on and on and on with this. And so I know
I would have the snobbiest, most elite Super League.
We don't need any more of that.
But that's a Super League, not a mutant of just here's 40 teams that have been playing in these leagues.
Why does mutant seem like it's just gross? I guess it's because
I don't know. That's your reaction to it.
I think about some scary movies of mutant, and they come
I think about
out as
Ninja
slime
Turtles.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here.
But yeah,
somebody in the chat, throw out a name. We got we're pretty open, which we don't do this a lot because we have a lot of guests, but we got a little bit of time here. I know we did take a break rest. Throw out a name. Just throw out a name on the chat room. First team to throw out a name, and we'll see whether or not it belongs in the Super League. We'll take a break. We'll come back with that. Give us 2 or 3 schools. And then we also have some other football news. Wisconsin with a new AD and more. And soccer. Yep, the United States playing tonight. This is 365 Sports. Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco. And 4th of July coming up this Saturday. And they have a lot of different great deals on Ram trucks. They have been honored so many times. It is incredible. And, of course, what they have with Jeep, the SUVs, the Jeep Cherokee, the Jeep Grand Cherokee. And, my God, what an unbelievable Jeep Wagoneer is phenomenal. A couple of prices that are out there right now. The 2026 Ram 1500 Lone Star up to $11,000 off MSRP. And qualified buyers can also get 2.9% APR financing for 72 months with approved credit. There's also this one. How about the Ram trucks, which, as I mentioned, I don't know, it's like over and over, like North Dakota State and FCS football, are just absolutely phenomenal. And right, the 2026 Ram 3500. This is a big one. Laramie Crew Cab with the legendary 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel. Save up to $11,696, very specific, off MSRP, and choose 5.9% financing, APR financing for 84 months, one or the other. There are cars and trucks and SUVs, pre-owned inventory on the lot. Ted Teague, CEO, General Manager. David Gray runs the sales department, and he does a great job because he has a fantastic staff of men and women who will help you find what you're looking for. At Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
In the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Celebrate American value and American quality during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car. You want a Richard Car GMC? Get your Sierra now and save $13,000 or more on every truck in stock with trade-in. Save $14,000 on a 2026 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab. Or save $13,500 on a 2026 GMC Sierra Pro, now under $29,000. Drive American quality and get American savings during the Red, White, and Blue sales event at Richard Car.
Richard Car, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
This 4 o'clock hour is brought to you by Stonewood Dental, your one-stop shop for your dental needs, specializing in teeth cleaning, fillings, crowns, sealants, root canals, IV sedation, extractions, implants, bridges, dentures, full mouth restorations, and bioaesthetic dentistry. Our priority is your comfort from the moment you walk through the front door. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Smoak.
Man, some of you have been begging your keyboard to try to get some names in front of Craig. And we discussed, just because this is kind of morphed into what Austin Meek, again, the Michigan president, said, hey, listen, our job is to take care of Michigan and the Big Ten. And that's what every school in the conference and also the SEC feel like. And if you had one of those schools, you'd want to do the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that they do care about the Big Ten until the extent that there might be something that would need the Big Ten to shift and to change, and then Michigan's going to default to caring about Michigan, just like Ohio State and every other school in America would do the same. It starts with you, and you care about yourself, and then you care about your league to the extent that you're happy with it, and clearly the Big Ten's, for the most part, pretty happy with themselves, given that they've won 3 straight national titles and they're making tons of money, and they flipped the narrative about the SEC in football. Especially with Indiana's win. And I'll have fun with this, and whoever you want to throw out there, but I'll also acknowledge that this is not like some perfect science that I put together. And I'm like, I've spent hours putting it together and narrowing it down and all of that. It's a pretty loose and evolving idea in my mind. I'm just mostly of the opinion, I don't have like, well, it's 30 teams and it's not a single one more, or it's not a single one less. I'm just more of the opinion of, you can't tell me certain schools, just because they're in the Big Ten or SEC, are in my version of a super league for merely existing in those leagues. Like, that's where I draw the line on the super league being just this combination of those two as is, even if you say, oh yeah, and plus Miami and plus Florida State and maybe Clemson. No. Okay. Yeah. Bring those schools in, but then I still want you to get rid of some schools as well.
No, you have to. You're going to have to get rid of.
But there's another part of this. Indiana's not on that list up until the last couple of years.
That's
now,
why they are now.
They got to be, right?
You can't.
No chance they're in it, though,
You can't like say, no, you're not allowed back inside. No, you have to, because we don't know how long this magic's going to run. And with Cignetti, he's won everywhere he's been. And first, a dominant run. Yeah, they had the game with Penn State, but no, Indiana has to be a part of it.
Right. So that's a team that would not have been in it 2 years ago. But there's also some fringe teams that are good historically. And that's where I mentioned, I know when we've kind of done this before, I mentioned like in Oregon, and people balk at Oregon because, well, they haven't won any national titles. It's not, like I said, a streamlined, you have to reach this thing. It's as much where you are now and what you've done previously.
Oregon's been good long enough, consistent long enough. They are a brand, and they're knocking on the door. And sometimes you actually win a national championship in a year you weren't even not expecting it, but it just all falls your way.
But I think there's 3 teams that I just thought of during the break that are very much like, that's where it would be tough to decide what the factors would be. Like Michigan State. Are they in a super league for football?
Michigan State.
But not just them. You mentioned Wisconsin. What about Washington? Like,
in my opinion, I go back a little bit further. To me, Washington would be a part of it.
Yes,
they just were in the national championship game. They did win one in 90 or whatever it was.
I think all 3 of those teams I mentioned would be in whatever the version would be.
Michigan State would be one of those. We'd have a discussion. And that's nothing against East Lansing. It's got a great history. Bubba Smith back in the 60s. Okay. Mississippi State, unfortunately, no. All right?
No.
South Carolina.
No.
Kentucky.
No.
Missouri.
That'd be a tough one. That one I would have to stew on a little bit more. And like I said, I don't have like the all-time wins, and I haven't compared and contrasted. Like I said, this is much vibes and just what knowledge I have. Missouri, I'm inclined to say like that's one of those teams like a Wisconsin that I feel is like right on that edge, that Michigan State, like right there where it's like, what are your qualifications for this thing? Because if we're doing 40 teams, then Missouri's in. If we're streamlining and we're trying to make it like as tight and as elite as humanly possible, I don't think that they're in. But I also think that means there's probably like 16 teams in this thing.
Yeah, they've got a pretty nice history.
So I'd say they're into a general version. They're in it. Yeah,
they've never won, and winning the national title doesn't mean you don't get in. Like we mentioned, Oregon, A&M, been since the 30s or whatever. Their last conference championship, not division champ. Their last conference championship was in 1969 in the Big 8.
Yeah,
but they do have something about them. But I would think they would be. And again, Missouri Tigers, Big 8. I love it. They have been pretty good.
People know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
People know they've won the Big 8 and all that. Yeah. I mean, we know who Missouri is, but they've had some success, but not enough success to where they're a no-brainer.
They won the Big 8 in 1960 and 69, and before that, it was the 30s and 40s.
Okay. Well, regardless of when they've won decades ago, I would say that's one of the eye of the beholders. I'd say in a super elite league, no, they're not in it. In just a general, like you've been pretty good, you've got a fan base and you've got size and you've got a TV market, then yeah, Missouri's in that for those reasons. But yeah, if you have to either have won multiple national titles recently in modern day college football or have played for and been in the mix for multiple national titles like in Oregon, you have to like carve that out just simply almost like the Oregon rule almost in a way. Then yeah, I don't think Missouri would apply to that particular.
Faurot Field, 62,000. It's a great setting. They do have a very passionate fan base. Let me go back to the chat room, and we're not going to go all the way through the next 30 minutes with this, but we'll have some fun with it. The ones that people are asking about, they're in, like LSU, Alabama,
of course,
Michigan, A&M. A&M's in.
A&M's in, yeah.
Let's see here.
They've been steadily good enough for a while. They've got a great history. They've got as much money as anybody. They've got 100,000 plus people in their stadium. Like they're in the state of Texas. I mean, whichever metric you're going by, whichever wave of realignment, whether it was TV markets once upon a time, or whether it was money, or whether it was location, or whether it was politics or like whatever it may be. Texas A&M, the only boxes they don't check are the championship boxes. Like they've got everything else. That's the frustrating part for A&M is that like why don't we have more championships? Because we have every other element of this thing.
It's killing them.
But that's the one thing that's missing. No, I don't think they are.
Okay. All three of the Power 4 schools. Well, I take that back because UCF is a Power 4 school. Miami, Florida, and Florida State.
In my version, they're all three in, yeah. Okay. Yeah, in my version, they're all three in. I think wins history, even though shorter histories, obviously, for FSU and Miami. But now at this point, it's like, I mean, it felt shorter in the 90s when they had kind of still were sort of, the ball was rolling. But now, I mean, it's 2026, so they've been around for 40, 50 years.
I think they're all in, my opinion.
Oh, no, I have no doubts about that. I'm just explaining that, yeah, once upon a time, they were relatively new feeling, not so much now at all.
You know, 25 or 30 years ago when A&M was winning like the Southwest Conference or whatever, it might have been longer than that, there might have been a time, because they didn't have 100. They had a big stadium, Kyle Field, but they might have had to like go in there and get in front of the judge.
Iowa.
God, they're so consistently right. They're very consistent. They're like the Steelers with only 3 coaches in the last seems like 50 years.
I almost feel like they are in, but I also know why people would balk at that immediately. But yeah, just being consistently consistent for as long as they have been, they've won a lot, just not like major levels of winning consistently enough to be thought of in the same vein as some of the other schools that are the no-brainers here. So they'd be like right at the front of the line of like on the cusp of this, depending on where the cutoff line was.
They have one Heisman winner, and now Kinnick, of course, the stadium named after him. They haven't won the Big Ten title since 2004, but they're just like, you know what? There's a lot of people that like, I wish Nebraska, to say I wish they were like Iowa the last 20 years is like blasphemy because they own that rivalry against Nebraska. But I wouldn't have as many scars in my fandom if they had been just as consistent of going 8-4 up to 9-2 or 9-3, 10-2 like Iowa.
That's what I'm saying. Like part of this is just almost even like just this particular exercise because we're not deciding anything here.
No, we're just having kind of fun
it's
with
vibes thing. So I think on vibes and just consistency, Iowa would be a good representative in a 24-team Super League. Now I'd have to list all the teams out and see how high we got, but I would think that they're right there on whatever the cutoff line is, unless it's just like this silly 16-team thing, which nobody would ever create or go for because you need more than that. Unless you were just trying to play each other all year long, and that's more of what you would.
Well, it's going to be like the NFL where you play people twice, and 8 and 6 is okay if you make the playoffs. Iowa, they have not won a national title. I thought there might have been a time when they may have popped one.
But they're an easier.
No, 1958.
They're
They shared
easier call for me than. I mean, I'd have more debate on them than I would on Arkansas, for example. Arkansas is an easy no for me.
BYU.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Colorado.
No.
Georgia Tech.
In the Super League of this is not, by the way, this is not what I'm rooting for either. This is just like my definition of when people talk about these things. No, I don't think Georgia Tech's in it. And people, I know Atlanta market and all that, but yeah, that's not what I'm thinking about.
If Haynes King is still the quarterback, I will fight you.
Right. I'm trying to make this thing a super league where it's elite and yeah, Georgia Tech's.
Yeah.
But that's where, that's what's hard about it is that you could make a case for Georgia Tech very easily. Whether you want to use old metrics, new metrics, does education matter? Then great. Does city matter? Great. Does longevity? Yeah, great. But does are you one of the elite of the elite? No. So
Auburn.
I'd say Auburn's in. Yeah. Even without all the claimed national titles.
They are football crazy. A lot of people are, but they've won Cam Newton, Bo Jackson. And I know they're not playing for him now, but I would say Auburn would make the cut.
Yeah, I mean Auburn, even without all the BS titles that they added to the list a couple years back, when suddenly they went from whatever they had to doubling the number of national titles in a span of a pen stroke, which I just thought was kind of par for the course for college football to claim titles. A lot of teams have done that. I always have found it sort of silly, especially some of the ones that you really side at and you'd be like, all right, Street and Smith's magazine named you the national champion in their poll, even though you had a loss and there was an undefeated team. Not citing a particular example for Auburn, but just you come across that with some of these and it's like, I don't know if that should count, but they're counting it. So yeah, Auburn with their real amount of national titles, I still feel would be in there. Yeah.
All right. Let me try to find one more that because all the other ones people have brought up or we've brought it up.
I would be like the whole SEC without Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Vanderbilt. There's
a lot that would miss the cut.
And basically the entire Big 12, and I say basically because there might be one or two teams that would make it in. I think one of the Arizona schools. And then that's where you're going to have people go, wait a second, they don't have the history. And again, that's where it becomes very complicated and why this is an exercise and not anything actually practical.
It's just a barroom discussion, or a tailgate discussion.
Everybody knows that. I'm just saying that's why this is very much a loose
Arizona
exercise
State,
and not an applied thing that you can actually go and have measurements of.
You brought this up yesterday with Graham Rossini. And after Arizona State is a pretty healthy damn place. Now, they've had their financial issues too, but it seems like they're in a pretty good spot.
I don't think that teams would want to deal. You asked me about BYU earlier. I don't know that people would want to deal with many of the Big 12 schools. I think Texas Tech hurt its chances more than anything. Like in this imaginary scenario, I could see where in my made-up scenario here, where people are like, y'all were kind of attractive, but we already got A&M in Texas, and they're causing a lot less problems than you're. But no, I think in other versions, Texas Tech would probably be in to other people's versions.
And one of the reasons you would do a Super League is because you want to just go and make more and more money. And who knows, maybe Cody would say, okay, I'll sponsor all of the games.
You know, when people say that though, what's he going to do? Because even you go, no. People actually say that. And I'm saying is, what's he going to do? Spend $1 million or $100 million so everybody gets like an extra $3 million? No, I mean that's not worth
you got to
entry into a league.
You have to bring money to the table, numbers, eyeballs, viewership to the table, and that's why some of the teams that are on the fringe have a lot. That for some reason they still have viewership, but they haven't been very good for a while.
That's why when I see the whole buying into a league, whether it's Tech or anybody else for that matter, I'm like, do you understand the cost that would mean? Because if you're sitting here trying to say you're just trying to buy into the Big Ten, let's say, all right, $180 million is just $10 million for everybody. $10 million.
Yep.
It's just $10 million per school. They fart $10 million like away in 5 seconds as soon as they get it. So what good does that do to then onboard whatever university and then include them and dilute? And so that's why when you hear you buy your way in, it's like, okay, you better be cutting a check that's like $1 billion to make it
Texas Tech has some work to do. I love what they've done, despite what has been a very difficult spring, early summer. I like what they've done, but there needs to be more skins on the wall. All right, Clemson.
They're a really tough case because
I think they're in.
At first, I'd say, yeah, they're in. I also, though, do think that you worry a bit about what post-Dabo looks like, right? I mean, now, granted, they won before him, and it stands to reason they're passionate enough that they're going to continue to win without him. I'd say yes, based on what Dabo's done specifically. He's put them in a different echelon. But if you were like planning this out for like 20, 30 years, you might side-eye them a little bit more. But I would say, yeah, on credentials, that then Clemson would definitely be in. And you wouldn't have South Carolina, so Clemson would help have the Carolinas for you.
Clemson won in 16 and 18. And then they also had Danny Ford, who won it back in 1981, many, many years ago. I'm trying to think of an influential Clemson alum or former player who's in coaching right now.
For any particular
Billy
reason?
Napier, former Clemson offensive coordinator, huh?
For any particular reason?
I'm bringing it up because you brought up what about post-Dabo. It doesn't mean they have to hire like blood. I'm not saying that. I was just curious if there was somebody out there. Like Dabo's name was attached to Alabama for a long, long time.
Yeah, let's forget the Super League for a second. I think there's questions about Clemson's longevity in general, but they've proven they could win before him. They'll probably win after him. I just see them being looked at a lot differently in 2026 than they were being viewed in like 2021 because they have slipped a little bit. They are smaller. And so there's some people who project these types of things that feel like Clemson's not some like massive slam dunk. I just said they're in. Yeah, they would be in the league, but I think there's others that think like if you're playing this out, is Clemson one of those schools that's actually going to slip further moving forward? But
no. I think they went through a stretch. They were like Georgia, because we know Georgia would be one of the first to open the door for. But Georgia went through a stretch where they were always pretty damn good. And but they went through a stretch after Herschel left where they had a drought. Still pretty good at times. Then, of course, now we know who they are. Clemson had almost the exact same type of, I guess you could say trending. I think both of them are big-time football schools no matter what. All right, that's fun. We had fun with that. And for those of you who had joined us late, we're just looking at the possibility of Craig has his version of his Super League. I would have mine. You might have yours. And so we were just kicking the can around to see who might be a part of it. When we come back, there's some other college football news. And, yes, the World Cup. We mentioned the United States playing Bosnia-Herzegovina tonight. That story and a sad story about soccer fan Freddie. Now, he's okay, but going through some things. That and more. And this is 365 Sports. And North Star Funding Partner, have you heard about the new IRA? Let's say you're in your 30s and maybe even early 40s, but you start to look around and you're like, man, have I saved back enough money for what I need for not only me and the business, but also for what you need when it comes to your family down the road? The new IRA with North Star Funding Partner is targeted for a little bit of a younger audience that also makes pretty good money. For example, the Insured Retirement Advantage is a smarter way to help you achieve your savings and retirement goals as it helped you be. This is what you get out of it. Create a supplemental tax-free income stream. Maintain tax-free income stream. Maintain liquidity for other investments or business needs, and then also protect your family in the long term. Transfer wealth efficiently. It's a unique solution for clients who are financially strong, make a minimum of $150,000 a year, but haven't yet reached or achieved savings and retirement goals. So call the number 623-256-6902. North Star Funding Partners. There you are on the screen. Rest, thank you very much. Or you can go to NorthstarFundingPartners.com and tell them that 365 Sports sent you.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men
an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide. Affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
From the TFNB Your Bank for Life studio. Now, it's time for the Smoak Show. Presented by IdealMRI.com. Premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable. That's ideal. And by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, your insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. And we've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. TFNB, your bank for life, serving Central Texans since 1889. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with David Craig and Craig Smoak.
Appreciate you watching what we do on 365 Sports and YouTube, but also through at David Craig on Twitter, where a lot of you do watch us as well. Here's one other note on what we were discussing on teams that would be like on the ledge or fringe. And it depends on how many numbers you would go when it comes to whatever your so-called Super League would be. Minnesota, Northwestern, Purdue, Rutgers, UCLA, Wisconsin, Iowa, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina, Kentucky, North Carolina, Texas Tech, Houston, K-State, Arizona, Arizona State, BYU, and then also two that would be interesting would hard to keep them out with Miami and Clemson.
I heard like 5 teams that would be in my definition of a super league. One of the Arizona schools, Miami and Clemson would be for sure.
For sure.
I mentioned Washington, Wisconsin, Michigan State. They would be like a conversation. I think one day I wake up, they'd probably all 3 be in, and then another day I'd wake up and they wouldn't be. No to Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Purdue, Rutgers, Minnesota, UCLA. If we're talking football strictly, then yeah, they're not involved. And I know like there's some Minnesota fans somewhere that's preposterous, but yeah, like I said, it's kind of a vibes thing as much as anything. I don't think if you plucked away Minnesota from a super league that anybody blinks twice about that. But I know if I lived up north and had followed Big Ten football all my life, that might be a bit more jarring to see Minnesota not involved. I acknowledge their national championships decades ago and how successful they were. But in my present lifetime, they've had very good moments, but they've certainly never been a team that you think of as being amongst the elite in college football.
Here's one from your Pat Cat again. My rule would be there would have to have been a title past World War II. And then somehow, therefore, Iowa, Wisconsin, K-State, Duke, North Carolina, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Oregon, which we know they've been knocking on the door, West Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Virginia would all be out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a good probably measure to create the most modern day grouping of schools. I do think Oregon's like the problematic outlier, though, in that, because by every measure, they are one of the best programs in America and have been for almost a couple decades now. They've been super consistent, multiple head coaches, multiple big games and wins and award winners and everything else. And so, yeah, the only thing missing from them is the national title at this point. So that's where they would be a hard line to draw. They might be like the exception to that rule, actually, Oregon. But the rest of that, I'm on board with you in my version of things, which I'm trying to look at it from not like what I would want to see, but what like I'm just not comfortable with throwing a blanket over a bunch of teams that do not have any super things about them and saying, oh, well, but they were in the SEC, so they're a super league team. Like, no, bullshit. Like, you don't get the benefit of the doubt because you
can't ride the coattails of the fumes of who was the one. Yeah.
So sorry, Vandy. Not trying to pick on them, but while the last couple of years have certainly maybe changed their future, and you check back in 10 years, and maybe Clark Lee's had them win some titles, and they're in a different boat, but up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, this wouldn't even be we wouldn't even be having this side conversation. It would be a no doubter. Of course not. Of course they wouldn't be in
Pitt.
it. No, not in a super league. No, not my super league.
Yeah, they had that Tony Dorsett team with majors in the 70s, and great. They have some great players.
Sure,
that have come out of Pitt.
Pitt's got a great history.
Minnesota's last Big 10 championship. And they have a bunch of national titles, like 6 or 8 of them. 1967, they won the Big Ten. And they won the Division West in 2019. But they're, again, that's one of those really nice stories what PJ Fleck does, but are they really threatening to win a Big Ten championship or play at that level, at the next level? Hey, by the way, thanks to these sponsors, Allen Samuels, House of Travel, North Star Funding Partners, Camille Johnson Realtors, American Bank, Edward Jones Financial Advisors, and Home Place Interiors, a new sponsor for the show, for setting us up as the sponsors of our coverage next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, at the Star, Cowboys headquarters in Frisco. All right, let's get to some other sports headlines from earlier today. Wisconsin, they have a new AD. Sean Eichhorst is now official. He has been at Texas under Chris Del Conte as the deputy AD at Texas. He also was at Nebraska, wasn't real popular there, and also was at Miami, but he now is the Wisconsin AD. And I thought I saw a sliver when I was looking around that he might have ties with Barry Alvarez, who, of course, is like...
Sure he does. Yeah, so, of course. Yeah. I mean... It's Wisconsin, so who doesn't? That's probably in any position of power. But yeah, he was there in their athletic department working for Barry Alvarez. So he just he absolutely did have ties to Barry Alvarez. And I'm sure that played into him getting this job pretty significantly. So I think now I just had the idea of why don't we put star rankings on new ADs at this point? Why not? Is this a 4-star AD get for Wisconsin, or is this like a mid 3-star AD get for Wisconsin? Like how would that be? Just an idea for on 3 as they expand their grip on everything.
Well, they have players, coaches, and GMs now that they do stars. It seems.
Yeah,
like.
I mean we're putting personnel guys and donors on Dave Campbell's Texas football cover. I mean, all bets are off. So, like, I mean, anything and everything is up for the microscope and up for marketing and just attention. So, I mean, I say that somewhat in jest, but I almost wonder, like, what kind of a rating would you give to the AD hire now at this point? So I don't know what he would be is really what I'm getting at. I don't know how good of a hire this really is, but he's got familiarity. Texas was obviously immensely successful. You're not pulling from as deep of a purse as you were in Austin, but you still have a very good support system there in Madison. And they need a little bit of a kick because the football program has felt like it's just faltered under Luke Fickell, and it's not at all what you hoped that it would be under him. So he's one of those hot seat guys entering this year without a shadow of a doubt, one of the guys facing the most pressure. It's a very proud institution. So it's a great job for Sean Eichhorst. Let's see what he does with it. I don't really know beyond that.
He fired Bo Pelini, screw him.
Well, okay. Well, that's definitely not the benefit of hindsight, not the best decision
not
he
that Bo
made.
Pelini didn't have a temper that I can relate to at times, but he was pretty good there, except once or twice a year he'd give up 70 to Wisconsin. Okay, so there we are with that. Now, Wisconsin, with that beautiful color, that red and white, the jerseys in football, will also add a sponsors patch. Culver's will be on just above the Big Ten logo on the Wisconsin football jersey. Don't like it?
It's definitely not the worst that we've seen so far. I hate it in general. Just I don't like any of it for anybody, no matter who it is. But I know it's here. It's not going anywhere. In fact, we're never, like last year, I hope we all appreciated the last look at jerseys without any advertisements, because we're never going back now. And that's a real shame. But
you know what the closest Culver's is to us?
I have no clue. Never been to one.
Pretty good
I
restaurant.
Do know of it, and it's important elsewhere in the U.S. as far as a place people go. But yeah, I've never experienced it myself. Definitely have heard about it quite a bit. It's I like the circular logo versus some of these just like square rectangular kind of logos I see that don't really have a flow to this. This at least has a little bit of a flow, but damn, that blue just pops against all the Wisconsin in this jersey. And it needs to stand out, and that's why you're paying the big money to be on the jersey.
Damn
but
right they are. Yep.
I don't like it.
Yeah, they are. Okay. There are 4 near the Austin area, like Leander and such like that. 3 or 4 in Houston, and even San Antonio has one. And so there we are. It's an American food chain, pretty good restaurant. Now, from that to Georgia Tech, they moved and changed and flipped like a lot of schools did around from Adidas or Nike to here is Georgia Tech. I think this is a video of Georgia Tech's new Under Armour football uniform. All right. Thoughts? I can't tell much of a difference. I thought I saw somebody, see that GT that somebody said that's missing from the uniform. I didn't look at it that closely. Obviously, they got Georgia Tech on the chest.
No, what GT? The one right there. Yeah, I see the GT. I liked what was that, gold on navy pants?
Yeah, there was
gold
one
jersey on the
There's
navy
one
pants.
that stacked pretty good.
That actually looked kind of cool.
Right? There? No, I like those.
Like that right there, I actually kind of like that.
The all white with gold to me is just beautiful.
I don't like the all gold as probably much as I like the gold on the navy like that, but I don't love the all gold ones. The rest of them look pretty damn nice. Golds, I like the color, the old gold color. It's just hard to do on like fabrics and stuff. It doesn't translate as well as helmets do. But I think, some of those are actually pretty sharp. Under Armour has definitely wavered in popularity. But good to see as much as they've lost some teams, they're still in the game and just providing some different artistry and some different looks and just a different vibe for programs. So it's good that they're around. And those aren't half bad. I like most of those. Just not the biggest fan of the all gold version, but I don't like that really for any teams most of the time.
Yeah, there's kind of that gold, and it's almost it's gold, but
it's
it
like
almost
brown gold.
Yeah, almost like mustard colored.
That's what I'm saying. Like on helmets, it pops, it looks great, and you got like the sparkly paint. But on uniforms, it just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, they're obviously all lit up in some photo room somewhere. But I mean, I do like them though on the Navy. Like for some reason,
that right there.
Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Just a simple pants change around. So yeah, just maybe it's a little bit too mustard gold when you have it the full uniform. But that right there, I'd wear that.
All right, now one note about a young man that we've had on this show, and we'll see him next week in Frisco. Arizona State defensive lineman Cullen or CJ Fight from Tatum High School. Honored yet again. This young kid, young big man, has done everything right since arriving at Arizona State. We even mentioned him to Graham Rossini yesterday. He was given the Gerald Lage Academic Achievement Award for Arizona State. He has done everything. I wonder, his father texted me, he goes, do you know when the all-conference preseason team comes out? And, of course, there's all sorts of magazines that do it, too. I don't know that, but he has been one hell of a representative for Arizona State University. So good luck, CJ. His mom and dad are fantastic. We'll see them next week. And then this one. The Supreme Court yesterday issued a decision to uphold state laws barring transgender girls and women from playing on school athletic teams. And not every state has that. There are some that do. We haven't really talked much about this. We discussed it. I remember Nikki Collins was on with us about a year or two ago. I'm not a fan of, if you're not a woman, then you shouldn't be playing in the sports that are being played by women. And everybody has their own take on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a hot topic, and it is a sports topic. I don't like the way this is weaponized. I don't want non-biological females playing female sports. I want to make that very clear. I'm not in favor of Leah Thomas taking away wins from girls who have always competed as girls. I am probably a bit more sympathetic in general, regular life to trans people than I feel like some people are, where, I don't know, you just see very, very ugly things. I think there's a long history where this isn't like some new phenomena where all of a sudden there's just people suddenly identifying that they're, without trying to get like too in depth with it. I think that you go back and there's like centuries worth of people who have felt that way. So I'm sympathetic to, there's obviously something to that, right? Like that for all over the world, for centuries and centuries and centuries, there's been people that have felt a certain type of way about who they are. And who am I to say otherwise? However, I don't think that means that you should be able to just go play sports as a guy and then just suddenly go crush people in track and field and go, but I'm on the shots. And so like, no, I don't agree with that at all. I think the key word here is uphold. I mean, you would think though, based on the coverage, that just there was thousands of people who had transitioned that were winning all the sports and the races everywhere. And it's just simply not even close to being the case. It's actually a very small number, but I understand you want to stamp it out entirely. So I'm all in favor of the states being able to uphold their rules, and uphold, again, a key word, because that's not the way it's reported about. It's not, you would think that there's just free reign all over the place and that it's just constantly happening everywhere all the time. And
there's 21 states that allow men and transgender women to compete against female athletes.
Yeah, 21. So, but I'm just saying I just feel like it's reported on as much larger than it actually is, but that's not what I'm trying to argue. The base point of it is, should they be allowed to compete? In my opinion, no. So I'm in favor of this. Like I said at the beginning, I just don't like the politicization of it, to where no matter what you say about anything, if it doesn't agree with a certain very strict party line, so you want men to play in women's? It's like, no, I just don't want taxes to be a certain way.
Yeah, no.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Here's how I'll say it. I remember sometimes I'll get a clip or two on Twitter, and I like to watch some of the hearings or whatever, although a lot of it's well over my head, about the feelings of a transgender woman, a man in a women's athletics. And what about their feelings? And my point is, what about the women they're beating? They don't have feelings. So bottom line is upholding 21 states allow transgender women and girls to compete in female athletics. 29 do not. And yesterday, that was a rule upholding those who do not.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. I just don't, like I said, to be very clear, I'm for that and for the states being able to decide what they want to do and how they want to handle that. But I think it's a big dog whistle where if you disagree with any part of anything, that's brought up like immediately as, oh, well, you must think that women didn't, like, no, didn't say that, don't believe that. But I see that kind of attack on people constantly when they're talking about separate issues. It's just such a particularly conservative weapon that's that utilized a lot, and to the point of, like, I think it's overstated, not the core issue itself, but the rampancy of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right.
Hopefully
now,
that makes some sense.
So now, and Rez, let's break and come back with the World Cup update, because there's a game going on right now. Senegal and England.
We got to talk about Mexico last night. That was
I'm going to show Mexico last night because that was amazing. So let's do that. Then we'll have Andrew Valade working on the wheel, of course, the quizzes and much more. We'll update you on the one World Cup game going on right now, and what does that mean to the United States if, in fact, they advance. And this is 365 Sports. It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
For anyone that's in the car buying mode or looking for a car right now or a truck, I would definitely come by Allen Samuels, get to know the people here like I have, how well I'm taking care of the dealership and how well, service and any kind of warranty issues and those sort of things. Because the way they take care of me, it's made me a Ram driver. And so I don't think they'd want to go anywhere else if they came here.
Like Allen Samuels always said, Waco has a lot to offer, and so do we at Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
This 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson and Brad Wilson in Waco, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe, with an individualized approach to addressing your financial needs, including education, savings, planning for retirement, and protection strategies. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, making sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. It's time for the Smoak Show on 365 Sports with Craig Smoak and David Craig.
There's one game going on right now, and it is Belgium and Senegal, even at 2. And Senegal led that earlier when I walked by the big flat screen where Andrew is doing his thing, 2-0. But now Belgium has come back with late goals. That game now is in extra time. And tonight in Santa Clara, California, the United States World Cup team, the national team against Bosnia-Herzegovina. And 7 o'clock, I've seen some estimates. I'm not going to overmodulate on this about how the numbers tonight with them playing, and they've kind of got an exciting team. Not sure if they'll win another one, but this could be a monster number.
All right, I want you to break down what are the biggest issues facing Team USA tonight?
They got to score quickly. Issues.
Well,
they had that, that last game when they gave up the late goal and lost, but they didn't play everybody.
That was also not their best team. That was also not their best
I have no freaking clue. I just know
you
this.
don't. That's why I was joking.
I will go home tonight. That gives me, 7 o'clock Central. I will go home tonight with about 2 or 3 things I need to get done before the end of the day tomorrow and have that in the background, and then I'll start getting maybe locked into it. But I'm not going to sit there and try to act like I know what the hell they're doing in the X's and O's.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it. I know you don't, and most everybody who watches regularly knows that you don't, nor do I. But I don't need to. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. And I think at this point, I do know enough to know that bowing out at this point would be very disappointing for Team USA. Would feel like the rug getting pulled, and I think they're in a good spot. Obviously lost last time out, but they were clearly already in and didn't need to win that game. So it's not like we saw their best shot with all of their best players. Tonight, though, we will. So it's win or go home. Fortunately for Team USA, they won't have to travel far if they don't. But on the other hand, I do think it would be a massive, massive letdown given how this thing has started off if they're not able to get to the next round. So they are heavy favorites based on what I've seen. Hope they can take it home and really put on a show in front of the home crowd. And I think it'll be a great atmosphere and hopefully a big win for Team USA.
All right, before we do anything else with what happened with Mexico, the top 10 teams right now on BetMGM to win the title, France is plus 188. They're already in the round of 16. Argentina with Messi next at 450. Spain third. England fourth, and then Brazil is next. Portugal, Morocco, I'll do the top 10. The United States, 8th. Norway and Mexico. And speaking of Mexico, here they are again after the win last night against Ecuador. Look at downtown Mexico City having themselves a
just like that, the curse is broken. There will be a 5th game at long last for Mexico.
Real, but it very much is. And
2 first-half goals.
The headache for
Quiñones and Jimenez.
Policia, or whatever other security forces they have in Mexico City to try to corral all that. Like
I think everybody got along.
Well, apparently, I mean, I haven't seen anything too bad, so that's great. I just feel like that would be an absolute nightmare to deal with from their standpoint. But for everybody else, like I get claustrophobic looking at that. I can't imagine being in the middle of that massive humanity, but at the same time, it's probably one of the coolest things you could ever experience. I just worried, like, what if you got to go to the bathroom, like that kind of thing. But it's been cool to see these turnouts, and that was probably the coolest one we've seen so far, and certainly the largest and the most just fiery. And Mexico City was all in last night. They're all in on this team, and that was a huge win for them. And they're certainly one of the great stories of this North American World Cup.
It looks like gold flowing down a river. By the way, 4 people died, 3 of them asphyxiation.
You serious?
Yeah.
Oh, see,
but not because they were fighting or anything.
No, because they got smothered.
Yeah,
because
no,
they're
I get
crowded.
that. You mentioned claustrophobic, and I'm the king of it. And let's see, the hundreds of thousands of people along the Capitol's main Central Avenue. But the health department said that early hours, emergency teams had to attend to 3 unconscious people in the area. And I mentioned 4 people died. But it wasn't like because of gunshots or anything like that.
Right. We've established, it's from the crowd.
Well,
I
you
didn't
mentioned
realize.
that. I'm just saying,
Right.
I'm trying to make sure you don't know.
We know it's not from gunshots because we're talking about the crowd. So, that's unfortunate. I brought that up because that would be a fear of mine. And so, you validated that fear by the fact that multiple people died. But I hate that because it does bring it down a little bit. Although it's still a very cool thing despite that tragedy. And the fact they could get that many people together and there wasn't worse is remarkable because that's just a sea of humanity that would be really hard to corral, circling back to where I began talking about this. Well done, Mexico City, and we'll see how much more celebration they have in them.
And Belgium and Senegal still in extra time, tied at 2. You saw where it said got rid of the curse, and it's not necessarily true with Mexico. To get into the round, they've been to the round of 16 before, but the last time, 2018, they played against Russia. But there's an extra round this year because there's 48 teams, not 32 teams. But technically, they do get the monkey off their back, and so they do win last night. That just looks like liquid gold down the middle of that street. Harry Kane, England. He now surpasses Pele for the most World Cup goals total. And they're rolling. They ended up winning against the Congo 2-1. He is now the all-time World Cup scorer leader with he has Pele had 12, and now Kane has 20 in 16 World Cup games. And of course, we've mentioned Messi, Mbappe, who's having a huge run, the favorite with France, and then also even what Ronaldo's done too.
Ronaldo hasn't done really anything
in his career.
His career, not in this World Cup though.
I was listening
more
to a
about
guy
Haaland
scout them.
More about Haaland, Mbappe, Messi, those guys. But it was a big deal for England and Harry Kane to play the hero. And I get what you're saying about the Mexico crowd because that could have been. I thought about that last night of like, what if somebody? Unfortunately, we think this way. We live in America. We have to. But it's remarkable that there weren't more deaths by people getting squashed or by just violence and some cartel hooligan or something deciding to pop out the pistol at any given time. And that's what I talk about with the security forces. It'd just be a nightmare to have that many people down there and have to just cross your fingers and hope because there's no corralling it. Like there's no stopping really much of anything. So unfortunate that anybody passed, but that it was four people versus what could have been far greater, I guess, is somewhat of a saving grace. But that was an incredible scene. And I'm sure it was, I haven't been able to watch much of the England reaction videos, but I will when I get home tonight to see what it was like in some of the pubs around London and how they celebrated. And it's more cool scenes from the World Cup, more of the status quo. They provided a lot of those in just a 2 or 3 week period here now. Still got a ways to go. And as we get closer to that end prize, I think the world's going to still do their thing, but I just hope the U.S. can be involved so that we can enjoy it as much as a lot of these other fan bases are.
And then I mentioned France and Mbappe real quickly. He has 18 now goals in 18 World Cup games, one behind Messi, who had that moment, a week ago. So, man, we're seeing some of the best of all time at the same time. And then there's the story about German soccer fan Freddie. I still don't know all of this, but he disappeared and deleted his Twitter account. This is from Greg, Social Security number to the right. I love all of what he posted. And then, of course, in this day and age of social media, people go back and look for something that maybe was said or whatever. And apparently people started to go after him for a few things, and he deleted his account. He even put up a note right here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just want to let you know why I deactivated my account. This was the plan all along, even before we started the World Cup trip. And on and on and on and on. And I don't know what he did. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he said 10 years ago or what was that. But Freddie, thank you for some great laughs and also just a feel good feeling in my heart for a lot of the things that look so innocent along the way.
Yeah, people, I think, balked at the fact that he had actually been to America before, and were under the impression that he hadn't, that this was his first time, so everything was all brand new, and that's not the case. Although a lot of the places he went were places he'd been, as it says in the explanation here. Also, he had, I don't know, things like maybe some racist-leaning comments from whenever ago, and so people dug those up, as they do when a guy is getting drafted and you pull out the tweet from when he was 14 and he said something stupid. So I guess it was probably similar to that. I didn't dig far enough to know exactly what was said, but
yeah,
I think it was some combination, and just, yeah, it's been a lot of attention on a guy and his buddies that have been traveling around. So I could see where probably be nice to not worry too much about social media, but it has been quite the phenomenon, and I've enjoyed a lot of it. So I can see both sides of wanting to keep it going because everybody likes it so much, but also what a pain in the ass it must be for him, especially if people are now starting to try to like single you out and identify you and bring you down, because that's, I predicted this right at the very beginning. I said, well, it's gonna be great whenever inevitably somebody finds something, they start to bring him down, because that's the real American way, will be when we lift him up. And this I don't know, like I saw somebody point out that maybe he's not even really from Germany. I don't know. I didn't get too into the mud on it, but regardless, the downfall was to be expected. If you didn't know there was going to be like some slope downward at some point, then you're not paying attention to how these things typically work. But we'll see where he is. I think he's still hanging around the U.S. for like another several weeks. We just won't see as much of his adventures, but he's had one hell of an adventure, even if it stopped right this very second. He's seen more of America than I have, had more VIP experiences than most of us combined will ever have. So yeah, he's had one memorable trip, and hopefully it's not tainted too much by the end of it by just the ugliness of people.
Yep. Okay. So there we are with that. And of course, tonight, United States and Bosnia-Herzegovina will have to watch that tonight. Hope you enjoy it if you do watch the World Cup. It is time to spin the wheel. What is the topic today? We didn't hear the wheel. We got to do it again, Raz. I want to hear the wheel. Okay. All right.
What do you think actually scares you the most? Snakes, spiders, tight spaces, skydiving, cave exploring. Also, do you see yourself ever conquering that fear? I'm not afraid of snakes. I don't like spiders. I'm not like afraid of them. I just think they're gross, and I don't want to be around them much. I don't really want to reveal too many of my great fears because I feel like they come back to haunt me. But I will definitely never go cave exploring. I always will think of the Nutty Putty Cave. So I'll never do that. I'll never go skydiving. There was a time earlier in life when I would have, but now it's just like, I've got this far. I'm not going to go just gamble that way. I don't feel the rush is worth it for me. And I really don't like tight spaces. So that applies as much to the cave exploring as well. What scares me the most, I think it'd probably be like the tight spaces would be very high up the list for me.
All right. I'm scared to death of snakes. I've gotten more intrigued by them. I even showed the picture of the copperhead from Sunday playing golf. Spiders, Craig, when you lived over where I do, you remember that massive spider web from a light pole to your car one time that looked like it was a trampoline. It was huge. I hate them because you don't, yeah.
I don't like them. I don't like spiders, and yeah, they're creepy as hell. I'm not like scared of them. I just am creeped out by them.
Even if it was even if you like a black widow or brown recluse, you don't know.
Because the natural human instinct is to be scared of a black widow.
Like when I killed that tarantula, but tight spaces, no. The video of that group recently, they got stuck in a cave. The one from a few years back when they got stuck in a cave and the water started rising and there were children. And I just watching that, There was a video the other day of one of these slip and slide things, and a guy got stuck in the slip and slide. And I mean, he was up high. I would have had a heart attack. Cave exploring, so that answer is no too, because of the same thing as tight spaces.
Cave exploring would be fun until like we get to the point where now all of a sudden the air is a little rarer, and I don't want to deal with like the dark. All of a sudden I'm having to like turn sideways to get. No, I don't want to do all that kind of crap. But I'll go to the big old wide open cave and look at the stalactites or whatever. Like what's that? Tourist attraction. I'm forgetting the name of it, but I'll do that. But I'm not doing the tight stuff. No.
All right. So there we are. Great question. Great topic. Andrew Valet, thank you so much. Let's get to our quizzes. We got to go 2-0. July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day, when the former Major League Baseball star collects $1.19 million from the Mets year after year since retiring. Through what year will New York keep paying him every summer? I don't know this answer.
I think it's 2035 from reading it 10, 15 times now at this point. Over the last 10 years that we've talked about this same topic, or however long it's been going on, every single year on this day. I think it's 2035. I don't think it's as late as 2045. So I can roll with that.
I want to know when it started. Oh, it's been almost 15 years. He's been getting $1.19 million every year because of the way they built up his, like Shohei Ohtani and a lot of the Dodgers have money that's pushed into the future. 2035, 2040. I don't even think he's going to be alive maybe by then. Who knows? But 2035. Craig says 2035. Rez? Craig, you're right.
Back in 2000, the Mets bought out Bonilla's $5.9 million contract, but deferred payments at an 8% interest rate, decision tied to investments with Bernie Madoff. That worked out well.
Yeah.
That later collapsed. As a result, Bonilla receives a little under $1.2 million every July 1st from 2011 through 2035. By the end of the deal, he'll have turned $5.9 million into nearly $30 million. So just another brilliant decision by Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, push all the money into the future and end up costing yourself $25 million as a franchise.
He cost himself a lot more than the Bobby Bonilla contract with his decisions, but this is very low down the list of screw ups. But it worked out well for Bobby Bonilla, to your point.
Can you imagine that though? That just that's. I would be on a big yacht somewhere off of Cabo, I think, as long as I could go play golf somewhere too. And you could even, and Jennifer and Daniel and them could join us.
You're shortchanging how far a buck goes these days. I mean, to do all that, I think you're dealing with more millions.
Yeah,
to be able to do that
nowadays.
nowadays.
Well, all right. Quiz number 2. We're 1-0. One of sports' greatest upsets saw the United States college hockey players stun the USSR in the legendary Miracle on Ice. Which iconic winter resort town hosted the 1980 games?
It's Lake Placid, New York.
It's in the green. It's the one with the Christmas tree. Lake Placid, New York is absolutely the correct answer. Rez, to confirm it is. Herb Brooks' college squad stunned the Soviet Union 4-3. Miracle on Ice, avenging a 10-3 loss earlier. Captain Michael Ruzioni scored the winner, setting up Al Michaels' iconic "Do You Believe in Miracles?" that took him throughout his career. He was already damn good at what he did. Team USA then beat Finland to win the gold. Sometimes people forget that. And Lake Placid, 1980, remains the last Winter Games in a town of under population of 15,000 people. All right, Lake Placid in New York. Now let's get to the poll results from our viewership here on 365 Sports. Which World Cup fan tradition has been your absolute favorite?
I mean, the Japan Stadium cleanup. We saw it during the World Baseball Classic, any event, the Olympics that they're involved in. I've seen a little bit of the others, but the Viking Rose, the big one, that's the one that's gone super viral. It's also new. It's I don't know about the history of the Scottish or Dutch traditions versus, like I said, with Japan, they've been cleaning up after themselves for quite a while now, where that's just the standard. But the Viking row is pretty brand new, and it's cool to see the way Norwegians are, and especially, you know, Gunnar Holland there at the front of the line, embracing it and further amplifying it. And I think just further carving into stone that it's going to be a tradition that 100 years from now, Lord willing, they're still playing World Cups, and you have the freedom to still go out and about and be fans and do all the things we were able to do in 2026, then yeah, I think the Viking row will be bigger, badder, and strong as ever. I think it's a really cool thing that's sparked up, and so no surprise to see it overwhelmingly the favorite here.
All right, I think so. The Viking row, man, when the Dutch walk down the middle of a street, and there's seemed like millions of them, that's pretty cool too. Mm-hmm. All right. The other poll question, and what is the outcome tonight? USA versus Bosnia, Herzegovina, Homer City, bandwagon, soccer fans, but that's okay. Bleed red, white, and blue, 80% say the United States wins in the 90th minute.
Or think just wins in regulation is what that would mean.
Yeah, within the first night. Yeah, I said overtime penalties just because I just did to change it up, but 80%.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I'll be in the 80%. I think they win just straight up and move on to the next round. And I sure hope they do. I think, again, a loss would be just a massive disappointment. Yeah. And especially with Mexico moving on and the fashion that they did last night, I think for the U.S. to bow out a day later that would suck. And I don't think it would zap all of the World Cup enthusiasm, because clearly all the teams still involved have brought their fans and they care a great deal. And there's plenty of American soccer fans just in general. But I definitely think it would take a little bit about, like, I'll still watch everything, but just knowing the U.S. is involved makes it cooler. The moment they're not as involved, it just feels like that's still cool. It's just, it doesn't matter as much to me personally. So, yeah, go Team USA.
Is this similar to the excitement that we kind of felt building up over the hockey team?
Yeah, I mean, not quite as much just yet, but I think if they win tonight, then it would be into that category of excitement. I think people are waiting with bated breath to see if they can get past this test that they should pass on paper, and they're overwhelming favorites to pass. And then once they do that and they start to see the competition stiffen up a little bit, then I think you got to realize realistically what your place is. But to win tonight and then move forward, I think would be just a good World Cup in general, a good showing. And then after that, it would be just extra icing on the cake. But I think if you lose tonight, then yeah, it feels like the rug was completely pulled out from underneath you. So yeah, it's an important game.
All right. So USA in regulation winning, 80% of you say yes, that's what they will do. A lot of votes too. Big chunk of votes, 612. Thank you, Andrew Valade. Appreciate it. Carlos was helping today with Rez and also Garrett Ross running the mothership. We do appreciate your time. We're back at it tomorrow. We've got plenty to get to. We'll see what the United States does tonight and more. Craig, thank you. I'm David Smoak, and we appreciate the feedback today in the chat on Super League and where's the cutoff. Just an opinion, just depends on how you feel about it. I'm David Smoak for Craig. This is the Smoak Show, 365 Sports. Good night.